Tuning in, tuning in. So we're about to get ready to do the show with Ill Seven. Um, she's gonna be really, really dope. Um, I'm out here in Senegal. I come out here every December. Um, so John Rick, uh, he'll be joining us in a minute. But just to let this build up, um, let's see, how do you do this? Add, joined. Let's see. I'm not as versed in this as my man's right here. Um, we'll see. Yo, what
What
up?
it is. What it is.
Oh man, you know what it is. You know, mashallah, all of that.
Shalom,
Yeah,
shalom, shalom, shalom.
yeah. Much respect, much respect. I'm curious if it was on live on your platform, would it, you know, do you want to? Would it still do the same thing? Because it's evident when you posted that post, it was jumping. It was jumping for you.
Oh, shoot. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean we can redo it. We at the beginning. If it's I don't know the algorithm stuff. This is really your arena with this.
um, right now, man, I'm just sending out some requests to some folks to see who we can get, in the mix. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? So you can always send out requests and
Mm.
you know, see what we get cooking from that.
Yeah. Let me do that right now as well. I would assume it's the same difference because it's on your page.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it'll show that we're live in general.
okay. Just I mean, if the algorithm's better because of your platform, you got it widespread. We can close this and you can do the live if that'll help. I'm not really, you know.
I think we should be good either way, and then we can get like what do you say? Get it jumping on the repost as well too.
Oh yeah. Much respect, much respect. Who we? Yeah, you gotta make it up out here. It's just man, racial battle fatigue is just really, really low.
I can imagine.
Man, I'm peaceful, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's live. Sending this to a couple of people because it's 1:10 here. So
1:10 in the morning.
hmm
Got you.
yeah. But there's always something going on. A couple of minutes ago, it sounded like almost a carnival was going on down there because it's live. It's always live music. So, I mean, they drumming, and I'm like telling you, it's like, man, ain't no sleeping. Ain't no sleeping out here. Ain't no
That's what it
sleeping.
is.
I love
Peace,
it.
peace. Yes, yes. It's my brother from Ghana right there.
Okay.
Tapping in.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
sending this out to a couple people.
Blessings. Um, so where are you currently at right now, my brother?
I'm in Chase, Senegal.
Okay.
So kind of outside of Dakar. Mbour is the next town, and then we got Chase. Um, pretty, it's pretty, it's pretty big. This country looks small on the map, but these is literally countries, not like states, like
Sure.
we, you know what I'm saying? So I've really just been staying in Chase. I was in Dakar yesterday at a festival, and yeah, and Chase is it's just diverse, man. It's just so diverse. It's the mosques are everywhere. It was Juma 2 days ago. That was
Okay.
amazing. That was amazing to step into, and just healing, very healing. Let me
Sure.
send this. Where you at right now? I know you was traveling on the road at one point.
Yeah, like right now, man, I'm at the crib. I'm in
Okay.
Denver. But
Okay, you posted.
I
Okay.
was recently in Atlanta for a little bit. And then I was also in North Carolina. I was in Fayetteville, Durham,
Mm, mm,
Charlotte,
mm.
and over by Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's a beautiful beach out here.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I constantly hear.
yeah. A lot of our folks is there. It's a lot of Gullah people out there.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just kind of connecting dots. That's one of the things that I kind of wanted to chime in with you is like this whole, you know, diaspora. You know what I'm saying? Conversation and almost like a fear of a black planet, fear of a brown planet, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of connecting the dots on who we are, and you on the continent right now, you on the motherland right now, you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
But like just talking about like kind of, there's so much happening right now culturally within, I feel like, the diaspora conversation. Um, there's the FBA conversation that's happening right now with the foundational Black Americans here in the States, but there's also, the Pan-African conversation, you know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like, and there's a Caribbean conversation happening. And like,
mm, mm.
as much as we are getting empowered, I feel like in a variety of different ways, I feel like there's a lot of dividing lines
Yeah.
as well. You know what I'm saying? Within the diaspora, based off of identity and cultural identity as well. So, like what's your experience right now, just being in the country that you're in right now, and like what are some of the epiphanies and revelations that you've been having while you've been out there?
Yeah. I was having a conversation with one of my brothers out here that I'm out here in Chase with. He's from Chase, and I mean we just traveling all around the country. Me and brother Jeff, and then my brother Damal Amadou Gallo Fall. Um,
Okay.
you know, from what I'm sensing, honestly, there is a shift here. The first day that I got off the plane, I was doing an online class, on the way because you know who Gallo Fall is, and I actually got to talk to somebody from Burkina Faso.
Okay.
Right when I got off the plane, and it was
Wow.
interesting when I talked to this brother, and I asked him, I said, "Okay, where are you at?" He was like, "Man, I'm in Burkina Faso." He said, "I'm from Burkina Faso." I said, "Okay,
Hmm.
what's going on in Burkina?" I said, "Because we're getting, it's shadow blocking, And what he was saying was, there's literally boots on the ground. It's been boots on the ground. So, which is being fueled. The French is out, and it's fueled by the U.S. So,
Mm. Okay.
once again, so to your question, what they sold us, they got some people, black people, thinking that people don't got no food and people walking around here don't got no
Yeah. No.
clothes or all this. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. This is, I mean, I'm full. I mean, this is the most. I don't even eat this much in the States because I'm
Right.
actually eating real food. I'm
Right.
actually eating real food. So that is a whole nother genre of conversation because the temple. So to your question about the FBA piece, I'm pretty sure you're more versed in that piece than me, but there's some things that I noticed that it's either you're getting that knowledge and you're knowledgeable or you're not, because there's a lot of individuals you think about it with the divide, and I'm sure you're weighing on the FBA because I want to learn even more. We've had a talk about it, but I want to learn even more about that because you got to think about this here. like language is so pivotal. Like they still have their languages. I speak Wolof, and it's French on the land, and it's a vibration. So when we're talking about this African and African American conversation, I am of the thought that this is Akabulan to me. I can only drive myself in my world. You know, so I know about Ifa. It's evident. I got this, on my head. So I know about Islam. And I'm a guy. God lives in me, and I get it. Some people lean towards religion, and that's fine. That's what you want to do. But I think
Sure.
that this conversation is much more bigger than just you know, what are we going to do in order to come together? Because there is togetherness. There is this, it's the relationships that you have interactions with, and also the opportunity.
Mm,
The opportunity. That's the part. Because you got to
mm,
think about it. When they sold that to us, they wanted to discourage black folks coming to the land and
mm.
intimidate and make you feel like, oh man, I what am I going to do in this place? And I'm gonna be destitute. And it's none of that sort. This is my third time out here. I'm out here for the month of December, and it's just so peaceful. We have to be careful when the devil comes to bring you a cup of water. Poison is clear as well.
Mm.
So I'm curious what your perspective on that question, because you brought the FBA up. Where's
Mm.
FBA's place in this? Because it kind of it does. Do you feel like that creates some type of subsidiary or intersectional divide when we
You
do
know,
that in the states?
it's an interesting thing because technically, my personal black background is like I wouldn't necessarily be considered FBA just because like my grandfather is actually from Haiti. You know what I'm saying? So like with that being said, it's a deeper conversation. Now, like with that being said, my mom's family, they from Texas, right? From San Antonio.
Oh,
My grandfather on that side is Mexican, but he's a black Mexican. So like when we're talking about you know um the foundational Black American piece. It's layers in the conversation within that because the constructs of race and us not having our like root language, it makes it more complicated because um, us being from the continent and also some of us being from the actual United States, um is it one or the other? I don't think so. And that's why I think, like I said, like it's fear of a black planet, right? Fear of a black planet has got to do more with us always being rooted everywhere, especially when you get into the Moorish conversation. um and there being black Europeans, and there was black Native Americans, and there was black, people from all over the Olmecs. You know what I'm saying? The Aztecs. I think that the constructs that we currently are dealing with, it makes it a complicated conversation, just because we're dealing with modern conversations of race versus like you go to Egypt, you go to Kemet, right? Are those the true Egyptians that are living there by the pyramids? Probably
no,
not.
no,
But like that's
probably
what they'll,
not. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah. So but they'll make us
It's not.
believe that. And like the lightening out of races is kind of really, even when you go to Italy and you go to like, like a lot of these museums, you'll see black Moors everywhere up in there. You know what I'm saying? And if we were the
Mhm.
originators of like making a lot of those actual castles and a lot of the actual laws that are in place in Europe right now, how could the whole planet not at one point been melanated? You know what I'm saying? Dark melanated. So I feel like that's kind of a conversation. If we are indigenous to these places, like and the reason why I say that is because majority of the time you go into any ancient culture, whether you're talking about it from the Asian culture or Native American culture, Europeans at this point, the one thing that you'll start finding is the vast majority of them started out melanated, and eventually lightened out over time. whether it be because of mixing of races or, us migrating to different locations. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So that's
mm,
kind of like my thoughts around it is like, with the FBA, a lot of people who identify, not necessarily me, because I'm not denying, it's one of those, am I Pan African? Sure, I'm Pan African because I believe that we need to travel back to the motherland, and I believe in a diaspora and us being able to get connected. Am I foundational Black American? Well, yeah, I got roots here. You know what I'm saying? Am I more? Of course I'm more. Why wouldn't I be more? You know what I'm saying? So, like, me personally, I embrace a lot of these different narratives because I am all these narratives in a variety of different ways. It's just, we're fighting as far as culturally. Um, and it's not necessarily you and I that are fighting. It's like, like Caribbeans that may be putting out narratives that they're better than Black Americans because they understand their cultural roots, or the narrative of those who come from the motherland or the continent being more connected to who they are and where they're from because they understand their roots. Does that make us less because we have to research and go and get the knowledge in order to completely understand who we are?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I see where you're coming from. And this is the thing. I may not even be eligible to be FBA because my people in East Texas, Shankleville, Texas, where my people are from, we have our own town since 19. We had it for 168 years. I don't come from slaves.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
See,
so
that's
it's
what I'm
like I
saying
wouldn't
though.
even
But
be eligible according to the
like that
definition.
makes you eligible though, because if you got a whole town named after you, that means y'all most likely were indigenous to that land. So like that's the you see what I'm saying? So
There you
like
go.
that's the conversation that I'm saying is there's a lot of us who have a town, like my last name is Acuna. You know what I'm saying? My family comes from Acuna, Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So like there's a reason that our names have these connections to the lands. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like there's no question in like who we are or where we're rooted from because our names are connected. So like for instance, you said Shankleville, right?
yeah. I'm
Okay,
from
like
Shankleville. Yep, Shankleville. Yeah,
so that means y'all were there before there was there. Before it was called Shankleville, there was Shankles there. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So like, does that make y'all indigenous to that land? You know what I'm saying? With your name being connected to the land. And then like the conversations that always end up happening is like you always notice that when the slaves were or when they escaped, where the first places they ended up going and mingling with were the Native Americans, was in Mexico. Why? Why was that the first place that we thought to connect? And then is that just who we are? Are we already just naturally connected to these people? Because the more information you get into like the Gullah Geechee people, and they say that they're from Angola, right? But like there's things that is in North Carolina that make you realize that, well, shoot, these people seem like they've always been here in freaking North Carolina. In fact, they have their own language within the Creole they speak.
See, and this is the thing, when the devil comes to deliver speeches, you know that it's going to be filled with 100% lies. And it's interesting, even when we say Mexico, you mean, I fill my mind before I empty my mouth. That was actually African. That was really African. When you look at the studies, and another place that they find the most Olmec heads is in Mexico, and they like to call Colorado Mexico. But I had come across research where this was actually meant that place, because I'm in Senegal, Africa. So some of the individuals come in here, let me say salam alaikum to them and mashallah. Salam alaikum, mashallah, jamak jam jamrik. So get that in there. I've come across some research, some intense research that has totally different map. And it's interesting. There's a difference between being a slave and enslaved because they never magnify the revolts. I'm here in Africa. I'm here in Senegal. Like I'm having conversations with the individuals when the colonizers had come in through the French. This is nothing new up under the sun. And when the first trading began to happen, it was actually with Portugal. And then we don't talk about white people being Caucasians and Khazarians and that being called Tartaria and the original Asiatic man is the black man. And that's going to be attached to Moors. And even with Islam, I've come across a photo. It has been controversial, but even here, I talk to the people. I don't just look at the screen and go, "Oh yeah, that's it." You know, I've had discussion with individuals that have been Muslim their whole life, and I brought that photo up. I said, "Have you seen that photo with Noble Drew Ali and the Moors in front of about 50 and 80 men, and you look in that top right corner, you see Fard Muhammad wearing a fez, and then you see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wearing a fez." So for those of you who have studied and know some of that is controversial, if you don't know anything about that, I'm gonna just give you not a long excerpt, but the reason why that is controversial is because the first black Muslim is Muhammad, right? That's where we get that Muhammad and the honoring, and then we have Fard Muhammad, and then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then we have Louis Farrakhan, but we have a lot of imams, and being here in Senegal, Africa, getting a whole nother scope that is kept from America. They're called falls or they're called sheikhs. That's the reason why Sheikh Ante Diop,
Hmm.
in America we would say Diop. He was the one that dispelled that whole piece about Egypt. That is Kemet. That's the 19th name of that land, and they're Arab grave robbers. And we got Rwanda funding the RSF in order to complete this genocide in Sudan, because the Sudanese people are the original that built the pyramids. There's actually more pyramids in Sudan than it is in Kemet. And I'm not calling it Egypt on purpose because I'm calling it its first name. And I think that this is a good segue to make this tie here, because you think about it, people that are in Spain speak Spanish, so they say, and then we attach that to Mexico, and then they're speaking Spanish. We're the original Spaniards. We're the
Right.
original from Spain. So when we talk about the Hispanics in Africa and that all being Mexico, this is my opinion and from my research.
Yeah.
Mansa Musa's uncle was the first to come over here. He
Okay.
sailed with 200 boats. I went to Kuta Kinte Island. So this is not tongue to cheek that I'm talking about. Like
Sure.
I'm able to read the stuff, and people or individuals go, "No, no, this is it, this is it." But it's another thing. As me, I'm here in Africa. I went to talk to Kuta Kinte's villages in the Gambia. I talked to them. I said, "Man, salam alaikum, wa alaikum salam, negative, job." And then we go back and forth. And then, oh man, they like, "You can speak English," because we kicked the French out. The British came in. That tripped me out. Like, how me and you are speaking English
Mm.
until they realize, oh, he ain't, a lot of times they think I'm from Nigeria, or they may think I'm from Tuba because of
Okay.
my beard. And they'd be like,
Okay.
"Oh man, the Tuba's near Senegal." And they say, "Oh, okay, yeah, but mostly Nigeria, Ghana, but they'll say Nigeria. We're talking like this." And I asked them, "What happened? What happened? How did we get to this place?" And then that was the first thing that they talked about. They said, "Our ancestors see everything. We seen that coming." And he said Mansa Musa's uncle had been in the where you call the Americas. It was not named the Americas.
Right.
And then Mansa Musa came, but his uncle first sailed with 200 boats. Not little boats. Not
Right.
little boats. And that's the reason why the Renaissance monument, the baby is pointing directly to the African Americans. And I'm dispelling this American stuff because, I mean, I get it. I'm from the States, but there's a lot of word spells. And when you look at the Grand Canyon, that Grand Canyon is a classic case study, because when you look at those blown up pyramids, you put those pyramids to some of the shots that were leaked by the whistleblowers,
Mm.
like we talked about. Actually, the reason why there's an Area 51 firing line, and I was talking to my other partner about this the other day, because some of the whistleblowers were releasing information where you go all the way to the end of the Grand Canyon, you can actually come into a part of Africa. So not only was Mansa Musa's uncle coming here, this was his living room. And then we have much later where we have the 13 colonies, the first presidents of the United States, and this trips people out. They were 13 black men. When you
Yeah.
tell, like Dr. Kaba Kameen said, when you tell the perfect lie, the truth becomes unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was 13 black men. It was not a white man. So I kind of when I hear the discussions and I don't take it as divide with the FBA piece, but it's
I
just
don't
like, well, damn, you know what I
I don't
mean?
feel like there needs to be a divide in the. I feel like it's the way that I look at the narratives that are going around. They're different puzzle pieces. There's not one truth. I feel
Right,
like there's a variety of different truths. And the thing
right.
about a variety of different truths, if you take the Pan African perspective, if you take the FBA perspective, if you take the Moor perspective, the Islam perspective, the Hebrew perspective, you get in a broad picture. And like we're not a
Okay.
monolith. So
Right.
like we have a variety of different ways we are as melanated people. We never were one thing. In fact, we are the developers and engineers of thought, of philosophy, of mathematics, of faith, of spiritualism. So, like, I mean, okay, if we were in Asia, which we were, and like
Yeah.
in order to be a ninja or a samurai, you had to have
African
melanated black
blood.
lineage to even be
African
considered
blood.
a real one. Why is that? And then like understanding who we are in the ways that, okay, and this is another thing too, like biblically, right? When we're talking about the Bible, when we're talking about the and this is deeper, right? But like we're talking about gods, we're talking about angels, right? We are the gods. We are the angels. That's only controversial because we are under the constructs of religion when we're talking about Christianity. But when you understand that, okay, these angels that had been fallen had taught mathematics, had taught how to go ahead and make weapons, had taught how to develop all these different technologies, then okay, then who are we talking about? You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? And then like you get more into the information of who the people of Torah, the Bible were originally. They were dark melanated people. It's not even the book has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with laws, statutes, and commandments. They're laws. And their ancestors who existed and didn't understand any constructs of religion when they existed. Because there
Mm.
was no religion that was put into place. These were people who were following a narrow path, that were following a creator that lived inside of them, and then within that they recorded in the same ways that we write, we do poetry, we write books. They were recording the realities of where they were at during those times, and now we get to partake in that information by opening these ancient manuscripts that they left behind for us to learn from.
Mm.
And like those, that's just information that's passed down. Now when you take it in religiously, religion comes in the form of politics. Religion comes in the constructs of different, religion. I'm not talking about spiritual practices like when we're talking about Ifa, or even when we're talking about like law, statutes, and commandments and just walking a narrow path. That's different than religion. When we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
religion, we're talking about indoctrination, right? You have to do it this way, and if you don't believe in these ways, then um, you're not in line with this religion. That's different than understanding the creator that lives inside you and understanding you're made in the reflection of the creator. And everything that you do as a reflection of the creator is making you a God on this earth because you're his finger, you're his fingernail, you're his arm, you're his leg, you're a part of the body of the source. You know what I'm saying? So, um, when we get into like these ideology battles on who's right, who's wrong, I don't look at it like that because I feel like there's too many different chambers that connect the dots to the bigger painting and picture of who we are within this narrative of what we're dealing with right now. Like yes, the continent is where all of our information, mathematics, and culture still exists untainted, meaning that like they are able to pass down that lineage of information untainted, where here we have to deconstruct the things that we've been already programmed in and find ourselves and go back to the motherland in order to learn ourselves even deeper and understand ourselves even deeper, because
Mm.
we've been conditioned within this new world order that we've been existing in for the last 400, 500 years, if not more than that, since it's been put into place.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I second that. I don't know what your opinion is of this expression that I have, but Christianity was one of the biggest bombs dropped on our people. Because this is the thing, Christianity has, I guess you get unorthodox Christians, stuff like that, because when you go to Ethiopia, Yahshua was actually born in Ethiopia. I mean, it's just a fact. People just gonna have to just deal with. They're just gonna have to deal with that. The Jerusalem story. So the thing is that, and then also there's no perfect religion. This is the thing. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. So what I would say is with them living, you think about it. So the Ethiopian Bible has 88 books. It has 88 books. Um, but this version here, everybody, it's like the black folks in the States hated everything about being enslaved and the white terrorism, but the Bible. And actually, individuals look up who King James actually was. And this is the thing. I'm of the energy that you got. I'm not here to say what's true, what's not, what's right, but I fill my mind before I empty my mouth. That's why I love to have these dialogues and be challenged, because I know about Ephra, I know about Ausar said, I know about the Hebrew, I know about, but it's interesting how the devil can sell the books and who King James actually was. That dude, actually, the first book that King James wrote, that is the most popular book in the States, the first book he wrote was Demonology. Look it up.
Right. Yeah, no,
And
demonology
why in the
is what
world would he?
got the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
got
then
the information circulate. But the thing about demonology, if you understand the book Demonology, it was actually talking about the constructs of like witchcraft, and it's layers to that book just because it's and then I mean, what's your thoughts about King James being us?
the original King James, before they dubbed his name, was just before he was romanticized, because it was a black man that was
He's a
over
Moor.
all of the continents. He was
Yeah, yeah,
actually a Moor, and they
yeah,
wiped his family out. And then
yeah,
doesn't this story sound familiar, folks? Where this is romanticized, where King James is all of a sudden a white pasty psychopath, when originally that King James, and they dubbed that name, that actually was a black Moor.
yeah.
He actually was
He's
a
a
black
Hebrew.
Moor.
He was
So he
a
was,
Moor Hebrew.
yeah,
Yeah,
so he wasn't white. So it's that story again. So the fact that the churches got black folks so hype and all in that, and it's, when's the last time you seen the author of a book and his picture nowhere? Nobody even thinks to even go King James, and there's no picture of him.
yeah.
They got it so cold. Like the original King James is a black man over all seven continents. So that Bible by that white man, there's a reason why the minds are emotionally incarcerated. They're
Right.
not the same person. That's the biggest bomb dropped on us.
Right. I feel like the book has been changed, when we're talking about the New Testament, it's not, well, I'll put it this way, the understanding of what I understand about the book itself, outside of the constructs of the stories, because the stories are the stories. We're talking about laws, we're talking about the 42 laws, right? So like the
Like
42,
Mayach,
yeah, exactly. But that goes into
Asari said.
Nuwapian. Yeah, it
Yeah,
goes into
Asari said.
Nuwapians. Yeah, the Nuwapian knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Who are Hebrews, right? Like the thing about it is the Nuwapian knowledge and what that was, it was bloodlines. We ain't talking about religion, we ain't talking about constructs, it was just bloodlines. And then, talking about like the actual original languages, like Hebrew's not even an original language when we get into the Nawapian knowledge and who that is and where that comes from when we get into the laws. So like, you know, going into the stories of like Abraham, going into the stories of Moshe, going into the stories of even Yahushua, they all went to Egypt. Why did they go to Egypt? Because they were studying at the schools. What were they learning at the schools? They were learning ancient knowledge. That ancient knowledge is still applicable. The only thing that makes the book controversial at this point is the constructs of religion that have been put into place that makes the book religious. But the book
Mm,
itself isn't religious. It's a book of laws. And it's spiritual laws, even when you get into the ascension of Christ. When we're
Mm,
talking about the ascension of his consciousness, when he's talking about be not conformed to the ways of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind. We're talking about not being conformed to the ideologies of the world in order for the ascension of spirituality to become one with the source. So, like, it's not religious. We worship who we're supposed to be like. We worship. That's what makes it That's what makes it idolatry. You're
mm,
worshiping the God outside of yourself.
mm. So that's interesting, you know. And then also that Caesar Borgia, that picture of that Jesus, that white man looking like a woman. A lot of those white kings were cross dressers in the middle of the night. Let's just call it what it is. Um, so some other pieces here. Also, those fake Jews, they're Zionists. Those individuals that's not even a real language. I have broken that stuff down because I
It's
remember you
Yiddish.
you
They're
had to
talking
see.
Yiddish. Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking Yiddish. They came up with their own thing. But also something else. Have you looked at the Talmud?
Yes, I have. I
I've
know. I know. Yeah.
I've looked at
Yeah.
the
The Talmud
Talmud.
is a trippy book.
Yeah, it's a trip. It's where it condones. There's a passage in there that says, you know, if you are to sleep with a 3-year-old, you have done nothing wrong. If you have slept with a child, you have done nothing wrong. And if the child was tampered with before the age 9, and you tampered with that child, you have done nothing wrong. That's in the Talmud.
Hmm.
That's in the Zionist Bible. So once again, you know, we're talking about
Psychopaths.
spells and books and
That.
psychopaths and white terrorism and also big distractions. Because I'm not talking about the documentary everybody else talking about it. Because it's like what the
Oh, bro.
military man said. No, that ain't happening on this live. We ain't talking about none of that. And this is the thing. When, like the military man said, when they tell you look right, look left. This big distracting bomb has went off. And then they're not showing you that they sent over 1,000 white psychopathic pastors that are Christian and they are looking to press Christian Zionism. And there's a book that they're pushing out. That's what I'm saying. You know, with these churches, it's just so detrimental. I mean, it's very, very detrimental. And it's not just the Christianity piece, like you said, it's the religion piece. But this is the thing, Muslim. I mean, this is the thing. Islam has their thing too, because I went down a rabbit hole too, where I was like, well,
It's a
why
rabbit
is
hole
this
down that
like
one too.
this? Where's this
Yeah.
story like this?
No
So that's the
question.
reason why personally I call myself a Akabulanist, because everywhere my feet at, I'm from.
I love that.
You
So
can't
explain
convince
that.
me. You can't
Explain that
convince
a
me.
little bit more in detail. Like what is that again? Say that again.
Akabulanist, because this whole
Aquabalanis.
Akabulanist. So this whole entire, like, I'm like this African American stuff, I'm dropping that American shit.
Got you.
I'm just this
Got
is
you.
just, you know, um this whole, I don't believe the Pangea shift ever happened, because studies have been coming out that they have been manipulating the map, and there are individuals here in Africa that is leading the challenge of them correcting the map. They have Greenland just as big as Africa. Greenland isn't even big as a quarter of Texas. So when you look at the map and they're saying that it's spreading out, we can get into the flat versus, well, we're not doing all of that. But this is the thing. It is historically, and I've come across old maps, even where Asia used to be called Tartaria, because white people were in caves. And it's interesting how they want to call us monkey, but they
Bro.
don't got no top lip. And in Neanderthal is code for monkey that I've come across. So white people actually have about 72 to about 82% monkey blood in them. It's just the thing. When you tell the perfect lie, the truth becomes unbelievable, because they have to push that upon us. They have to say, they're the monkeys, you're a nigga, you're and all this other stuff. And it's just like, oh, okay. But they got it so cold, they're just gonna say, let's embed it in religion. Let's say color don't matter. So when I say I'm an Akabulanist, everywhere my feet at, I'm from, I literally mean that.
Mhm.
Because I have come across documentation. I have got to see they named her Lucy. That is not her original name. The reason why they
Mhm.
named the first body that they have found in Ethiopia, like, people just got to get over it. This is the thing. I know it's not about who's right, who's wrong, but there is a such thing as truth, and there is a such thing as historical. historical moments. That she was found there. And then I
Mm,
took it a step further. When I was here last year, the first year I got here, I went to the museum.
mm,
And I said, well, I want to see for myself. Then it had her original name there. And then the story behind it. The reason why she was named Lucy was because it was a British scientist, a scientist from Germany, and a
mm,
US scientist. It was the British scientist that won. And he said,
mm.
well, we're going to name her Lucy because he was listening to a Beatles song.
But what that Beatles song is about Lucifer. Like the
And,
Beatles song
and
that he was
yeah,
listening to called Lucy is about Lucifer.
yeah, and that's interesting because when you read the Talmud and you have some of these individuals that, when you are reading parts of the Bible and decoding it, they'll tell you it'll literally tell you, like, we're praising Lucifer, we're praising Baal, we're praising, yeah, this is, so this is the thing, because this is the thing, this is another thing. A lot of those pastors, they ain't even read the book. That's the reason why when you go to church, it's the same scripture.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
the
well, that's the
individuals
whole
wouldn't
thing
notice that.
about only reading that's my biggest criticism of most Christians is they only read the New Testament. Like all the information is in Torah. Like Torah is law. And then even if you read nothing about the New Testament, and I'm not knocking the New Testament, those who read the New
The fake
Testament.
Jews are reading the Torah too as well.
Yeah, because well, the thing about the Torah and the
It's
thing about
designed.
law is when you walk in law, you get abundance because you're walking according to spiritual principle. And they took the law away from us. So what's the one thing that they preach to our people? The New Testament. They tell us not to look at the law. The thing about the law is when you're following laws, I don't care what the laws are. When you're following laws, statutes, laws that are in line, that is the building blocks of abundance and prosperity. And those are the things that they took away. The thing is majority of our people don't understand what the book really is and don't understand what the ancient knowledge really is. There's spiritual laws that if you understand can make you successful in a variety of things that you do, but we don't think about it as law. We think about it as like this mystical idea. No, these ain't mystical ideas. These are mathematics and these are equations that you could apply to your life. And that's the biggest trick. That's why I'm always like, I understand like the criticism of the book because there should be criticism of the book. There should be criticism of the ways that it's been produced, mass produced, changed, manipulated, all of those different things. But when you understand that we're the people of the book, when you understand outside of that, the people of the book didn't even understand the book because they didn't read the book, they lived the book. When you understand like within that, those are indigenous tribes. Those are tribes that existed that captured these stories and put them down into manuscripts. And those manuscripts were collected. And those manuscripts were collected because those are our ancestors. When you understand that the Levites were actually the practitioners of a lot of like Ifa, hoodoo, voodoo. When you're talking about the the Igbo people are original Levites. When you understand who the tribe of Issachar is, when the tribe of Issachar were the followers of the stars and they were able to map the stars. And like when you get into the actual Aztecs and the Mayans and the ways that the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Egyptians were able to utilize the stars to go ahead and map their past and be able to predict futures and everything like that. That's all us. And
Right.
outside of a religious construct, and even the names are Hebrew, whatever. Take the names out of it. Take all of that out of it. If you just said us
Mm.
melanated folks, and that's us. That's things that
So,
we did.
so I got a question. Do you believe that do you believe that Christianity was the first spiritual system
No,
before Ifa?
no. Like
Mm.
I no, like I mean, the thing about it is these are like Christianity in itself is a construct. Now, like the truest original form of Christianity was in Ethiopia, right? That's
North
where it
America.
originated from, right? But like when we're talking about African spiritual practices, African spiritual practices. You got to think, what are they doing in Torah? Like, there's altars being built, there's sacrifices being put, there's animals that are being burnt. These are African ritual practices. You can't tell me
Mm.
they're not. They ain't
Right.
doing that anywhere else. Those are African ritual practices. When you understand in the Garden of Eden, they say that Garden of Eden is in Ethiopia. The whole continent of Africa at one point was called Ethiopia.
That's another
So
name
like
for Aquabulan as well. Uh,
exactly.
Garden of Eden.
Yes. So like at the root of who we are, like, and then all right, and then when we're talking about Pangaea, right? Like us being able, we were everywhere. Like, okay, we did originate in Africa. All right. If it was the Pangaea, then if South America and America were at one point in one before the flood or whatever happened with the separation, because that's the Tower of
Yeah,
Babel,
I,
right? The
I
Tower
think
of
that
Babel
was
was,
made up. I think it's theatrical
I
with
think like what
with
I
the
believe
flood
in
piece.
that
I think
is
that's
that
theatrical.
I don't think history is linear. What I believe is history uh is a concept that they preach to us, and we can only look at it linearly because we've been taught it linearly. But I believe that there was a variety of different existences that happened through time. So like they say, the story of Jesus is 2,000 years and the Bible is so many years. That's a time construct. It says in the Bible also that a day will be 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day to the Most High. So our concepts of time, we're only here for 120 years, maybe if we're lucky. So our
So
concept of time is only like you can't tell an ant who's only here for a fragment of time what happened before or after it, because an ant don't know. Ant's too small. Ant don't know what's real and what's not. An ant can only believe what it can see. And that's the problem with history, is the reason that it's being able to be manipulated is because they can manipulate any story they choose to tell us, because we don't have, dude, like the Black Lives Matter movement was already changed and manipulated within historical references as it was happening, let alone what is going to happen 20 years down the line. You know what I'm saying? Tupac is going to be a white man. You know what I'm saying? Like majority of the figures that we look up to, Michael Jordan may not even be black 1,000 years from now. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? So like the constructs of the ways that we look at history and time is always to the benefit of who wants to associate with greatness. Greatness
mm,
is something that everybody wants to be close to. If Shakespeare was black, which they starting to say he is now, Beethoven was
yeah,
black, which they
actually,
starting to
yeah,
say he is now,
he literally
who is
was.
Langston Hughes going to look like? Who is John Coltrane going to look like 1,000 years from now, depending on who wins the war? Because history is told by those who win the war. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Those who are his story. So like,
Yeah.
like the whole constructs of what's real and what's not, i'm always under um I'm always under I'm criticizing it all the time, because I'm not going to say that I have absolute truths about nothing. I don't have absolute truths. I know things that I have figured out, things that I have discovered, things that spirit has told me, things that I have downloaded that let me know. And sometimes some of my downloads are things that are controversial to people
Mm,
because they've been conditioned in very specific ways to believe certain things. So my downloads are my downloads. I can't, I don't agree with you. You don't got to agree with me. It's a
yeah.
download that I got. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
download that I got. And if you don't agree with the download, take it up with the source. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. If we could dialogue. Abraham Lincoln also was a black man too.
Right.
He actually was a black man. Beethoven was a black man. Yes, that's actually true. And then this is the thing. I get it. I mean, it's not, and I get how you put that. I like how you put the expression of absolute truths, but there are some things that are absolute truths, not all across the board because it's not linear. I get that. But yeah, Beethoven, all of them. And then also with this part about the Bible, it's just hard to really trust a lot of the religious texts because the Igbo people being the Levites are kind of okay, yeah, let me chew on
They're
that
the
for a bit.
original Hebrews. The
But this is the
Igbo.
thing. Ifa was far before all of that. So it's kind of like because the other
Yeah.
meaning of Ifa actually means love.
Love.
So you're thinking about it, they were actually
Voodoo
for
means
love. And
God.
then when I was studying more in depth about Oludumare and Olokun Olorum, and then Shango and then Oshun,
Those
this
are
was
archangels.
before. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then they're called Orishas. Before the word angel was being used, it was
yeah.
Orishas. So when we're using angels in the
Yeah,
religious
no.
Christian text, it's I get it's not translation. This is
Well,
so
no,
I get
and I
the
agree with you on that. Like my
yeah.
whole thing, even like when you get into Nawapian understanding, right? Nuwapians don't believe in angels. They believe in the celestial, right? They believe in the extraterrestrial. So like
Neither does
they don't even,
Buddhism. Neither does
huh?
Buddhism.
Well,
This
yeah, exactly.
they call the devil what do they call the devil? Dukkha. They just
Yeah,
say
yeah.
it's just an energy.
And then the
They call it
concept of the
dukkha.
devil, when you're talking about it, even in Torah though, that's what I'm saying though. Even in Torah, God isn't good, or God is good and evil.
Mm.
Meaning that he did both things. Like he went after people and sent angels to kill people. You know what I'm saying? So like the thing about it is
Why
Christianity.
would God do that though? It's just like you are the supreme energy. Nobody can compete with you. Why would God feel like he would have to send people to go kill people when God is almighty and can do that? Why would God direct the people? It sounds like crusades. Like
I
just
think
stepping back, not
yeah. I think the concept
that
of
don't make
God in the
sense.
ways that we've been taught it is wrong in the ways that it actually is. And that's why I say, like, even when we're talking about, like, okay, if we're talking about, like, Shango, or if we're talking about Ogun, if we're talking about Michael the Archangel, if we're talking about Thor, right? These are bloodlines, bro. Like, when you get down to even, like, the mixing of the gods and the angels, right? The fallen angels and the women, right? Like, there was a superior bloodline that mixed and made demigods, right? So like the demigods that exist on the earth, you call them Saiyans, you call them Superman. You know what I'm saying? All these different stories that we're being fed of superheroes is us. Like
Mm.
even when you get into like the Sefer, which is the Bible with all of the books that have been taken out, with the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees, and the Apocrypha and all that
Yeah,
different. Like
apocrypha.
when
Yep.
yeah, exactly. Like when you get into those books, you go into the 12 brothers. All the 12 brothers had special abilities. One of them could jump over buildings. One of them had the strength of 1,000 men. It only took, I think they said it took 300 of them to take out 5,000 in a battle. They had abilities that they were tapped into. That is the secret of the book that people are missing. Is that when you are in alignment spiritually, you have supernatural powers that freaking they're keeping away from you. When you think about Mashiach, right? Mashiach means the Messiah. Hamashiach is also an oil that they used to anoint on the heads of those who were ordained prophets, kings, preachers, teachers, the Levites. They had Mashiach. So when you had Mashiach put onto you, that means that you were ordained to be a Messiah. There's many Messiahs in the Bible.
There was
There's no one. And
15. There was 15 before. Joshua. There were
Solomon was a
15 of them.
Messiah. David was a Messiah. Moses was a Messiah. Aaron was a Messiah. They all had Hamashiach. They had the Mashiach put onto them.
And
So
also Simeon Toko. Are you familiar
okay,
with Simeon Toko?
yeah, man, that's what
Who's
I'm
Simeon
saying.
Toko?
So we're like missing the information of who we are as a people, right? So when we're talking about like the book of Revelation is our awakening. Like it's the new earth, it's the kingdom coming down to the earth, it's our consciousness connecting to the source and us becoming one with source and becoming like Christ, Christ like. So, like when we become Christ like, we don't worry about the constructs of the world because we become one with the source. And when we become one with the source, the constructs die. The constructs is our ascension. When we're talking about the Tartarians were connected to the source. They had infinite knowledge from downloads from the source. Everything that Nikola Tesla had, Nikola Tesla was doing nothing more than taking our information and he was applying it and utilizing it to make free energy. The
So just
Tartarians were
so I
doing the
have
same.
clarity, when you say Tartarians, are you talking about the Tartarians that are Khazarians, that were
No,
the ones in the
no,
cave mountains? Because
no.
yeah,
I'm talking about the Moors that were
oh, okay, the
Tartarian that had
Moors,
like
okay, in
the
Tartaria
Moors Tartarians.
before they came out of the mountains, and we got the Dark Ages. Oh,
Right.
okay,
Yeah. But like
twice.
I feel like the book of Revelation is the awakening. The returning of Christ is us waking up to who we are and understanding who we are and utilizing that information to ascend into being like Christ.
So when you're saying being like Christ, Christ is short for Christian, or are you using this in a different type of vernacular when you're saying
I'm
be
using
like
it in the
Christ, be
sense
like
of like,
Christian?
well, I'm using it in because those are Christ followers, right? They follow Christ, which Christ means the anointed ones, right? It's rooted from the term Hamashiach. So when I'm using it is us becoming like Christ, meaning us becoming conscious of who we are within the Most High, which is a Christ consciousness.
So becoming like, but what if we are?
Well, I
What if
feel like
what if
some of us
what if
are.
we
I don't
are?
feel like all of us are. I
Yeah,
feel like
not
that's
all
a
of us.
personal. I feel like that's a personal journey that we have to go through our own like spiritual struggles in order to ascend into being like that. Some of us are still low frequency. Some of us are still low vibrational. Not all of us are ascending because some of us are still conditioned to the ways of the world. So
Mm.
it says, "Be not conformed to the world." So if we're conditioned to the ways of the world, then that means that we're acting as the world. We believe the things of the world. We're not operating as God. And I
Mm.
believe that that's the kingdom mindset, is to operate according to the ways that the Most High has ordained us to be, which is free. And the only
Mm.
way that we can ascend to a true freedom is to be connected to the source and understanding that we are one with the source, you know?
Yeah, and then also Yakub is a pivotal piece in this. I mean, we're saying we're dropping a lot of jewels here, but Yakub deserves a mention too in this. He's disguised in the Bible as Jacob. J wasn't invented till the 16th century. So this is just my opinion, and from my research, nobody actually walked the earth called Jesus. Because the letter J did not exist, nor did the M, nor did the U, which is the reason why when you look at buildings and capitals and they're spelling V and you read it like a U, because the J, the M, and the U did not exist. So when we're talking
Right.
about Archangel Michael's, the M wasn't even created
Mm-hmm.
until the 16th century. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and also for individuals, like Yakub is a pivotal piece in this, because Yakub reminds me of, you know, family generational trauma and the curses because of what he decided to do. But I think that it was other things happening before that. But that's what I'm saying. White people are actually only 2,500 years old, 2,500 years old. Evil covers a lot of ground. From my research, we've been here for about 7 million years beyond, maybe even beyond that. So when we're pushing this jubilee or this revelation, the world is about to end. How's
Mm.
the world going to end when we are the beginning and the end? And another thing about being here in Africa that really helped my in America, I call it the fishbowl phenomenon. I call it the fishbowl phenomenon because fishes don't know they're in a fishbowl. And when
Mm.
people are walking by, they kind of look at the people with the legs of like, you got a problem. What is that? But they're in a fishbowl. And when I went to a village here, um, my partner, we just walked in and he said, "Oh man, my great grandmother." Hmm. And I said, "Oh man, wow." She was 137 years old. So when we're talking about these time manipulations and these year manipulations, being here in Africa, in Senegal, you feel the spirit, you feel the, and also to be away from racial battle fatigue and white terrorism. I'm not saying all of the keys is just laying here, but if a person is not willing to even get a passport to go over the Atlantic Ocean, um, and you're only reading one book, that's not
I
very
agree.
smart. That's just not very smart. So um to some of the pieces you're talking about, I believe the future is now. This isn't
Agree.
toxic positivity. I can only talk about my worldview from the world that I live in and I navigate in, and me being here and who I am to my community and being in the States, and the fatigue that us black folks deal with on a constant basis. Because if there's any individuals that need to be handcuffed and taken off of a land and escorted out of someone's living room, it's the Caucasians that could go back to the Caucasus Mountains. That's why they're called Caucasians. And the Khazarians are the Zionists. There's mountains up there called Karkaria, which Tartaria, with the part that you cleared up, those was actually the Moors dominated it. Then they changed it to Asia. And I came across some research seeing the maps changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, again. That's why I'm an active Atlantis. Because everywhere my
I
feet
like
at,
that too.
I'm from. Everywhere my
Yeah.
feet at, I'm from. So I love knowledge. I love the seeker, but it does get to a point where, I would say being out here and learning another language.
Mm.
Learning another language. The average person here knows three languages.
Mm-hmm.
English may be their third language. So you think about this, that same thing is being played out because the Bible is not a translation. That's something that I learned from having a real Quran. Whenever you see something that is translated, that's not real. That's the telephone game. They say
Mm.
this is law, and I interpreted this.
Mm.
And hieroglyphics is a made up Greek word.
Yeah,
It's
meta netter.
metuneter. That means divine writings in the wall. And they found Metu Neter all over the Grand Canyon. And when you
Mm-hmm.
look at the map, we got Memphis, we got mounds everywhere. Even driving to Colorado Springs, man, my kids be like, Dad, all right, we know, Pop, we know you want. I'm like, that's a fucking pyramid. Like, that's a fucking pyramid. Like, look at the shape of that. Like, knock it off. Just knock it off. Because the capital of the United States is Tel Aviv. It's
Mm.
not Washington. And when you look at the map also, I look this stuff up, y'all. When you look at the map of DMV and Washington, DC, it no longer says DC. Does some people know why? I'll tell you why. Because there was a deed, there was a land deed agreement that expired. And there were individuals of that original land that just said, hey, no, look, we uncovered this. So when you actually look up Washington, D.C., it only says Washington. And then when you
Mm.
look at the Washington Redskins, they're just called Washington. We
Mm.
already have a state named Washington in the top left corner. So why, in the middle of the DMV, that's supposed to stand for District of Columbia, why would it be called District of Columbia and this isn't Columbia?
Mm.
And now when you look at the map, it just says Washington. That's because there was an expired deed tied to some indigenous folks that just said, no, we're not having that. This is in y'all's writing. We're turning this, and they had esquires going at them. That's the reason why when you look at Washington, D.C., it just says Washington. We already have a state called Washington.
Mm.
That's the reason for that. And
Mm.
think about it. That's all over this land. Everywhere my feet at, I'm from. This is the thing. I love being black. I love it. I love being black because, you know, being black, I'm the only one that can civilization flex. I'm the only one. We the only ones
It's
eligible for such a thing.
it's one of the most controversial things nowadays because we're in a time right now where people think that we're just talking. They don't believe that the things that we're saying actually has root knowledge. And I think that's the thing that is frustrating a lot of ethnic groups and a lot of, but like that's also prophesized as well. There'll be many nations that hate you. But like the information and the knowledge that we are dropping is controversial only because it's truth, and truth hurts. It
Mhm.
scars because when you rip that band-aid off and you look at the hard reality of that scar, you got to deal where it came from. And I
Yeah,
think that that's one of the things which you're talking about right there is right on. And yeah, man,
yeah,
I'm vibrating with everything that you're saying.
yeah. That's the alignment and being able to talk about these pieces. It's the evolution, and this is the thing with the youth. What I was saying is that, and then also another thing that being here in Africa and Senegal, you got to come out here and experience it. I mean, I'm tapped in out here. I speak Wallo, and when I go into these universities with Brother Jeff, and I talk to these classes, these are some of the most brilliant minds in the world. I'm not just saying that to be nice. I've had discussions
Right.
with individuals, and there's no language for mental health out here because there's no word for it. So if a person is depressed, there's no word in the language. So think about how detrimental that is. And I got up there and I broke down mania, high functioning depression, manic depression, and this young man came up there and he literally almost said it verbatim. And I said, "Wow, the student sounds just like the teacher. They're trained like that." So that's what I'm saying. Like and then this is the thing with us, and that some people say it's a lost tribe, but this is the thing. We are the key because everybody wants to be a nigga until it's time to be a nigga. And that's a fucking
Oh,
fact.
yeah, yeah, amen.
I'd have been everywhere. I'd have been
Ashe,
all over
Ashe,
the
Ashe.
world in places.
Yeah,
And you can see somebody, oh, you trying to be, you got a nigga costume on.
mm,
Like everybody wants to be a nigga till it's time to be a nigga. And it's rare you see it here that, you know what I mean? But I'll see it. But then again, it's kind of like, oh, okay. You're giving a reference to hip hop or New York culture, or, you know what I mean? And then when they learn I'm from the States, then they got questions. They're like, man, is it true they gun you down the streets and y'all got to do this and y'all shoot back? I said, yeah, that's true. But that question, when me and Brother Jeff asked in the classroom multiple times, where we had said, individuals, put your hands up if you have a brother or somebody that you know that was black that took somebody else's life with a gun.
mm,
No hands went up. Next
mm,
question. Does anybody know anybody personally, or, a few people removed from a person getting killed by the police? Not one hand went up here in Africa.
mm,
But that one time when one hand went up, everybody was shocked. And they turned back and they said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what you, okay. You know somebody? Because we ain't doing that." He said, "Yeah." He said, "George Floyd,
mm,
that's my brother." All the
man.
way here in Senegal. And I was at Cheikh Jobs University.
Mm,
And then they asked the questions to us. How many do you know anyone or have personal friends and family members that have been killed by the police? Man, me and Brother Jeff put both our damn hands up.
mm-hmm,
Have y'all seen a gun besides in the movie when we asked him? Two people raised their hand. Well, I seen it in the movie. I mean, we've seen it in movies, but not, like somebody got a gun and we like, I'm about to handle this, you know what I mean? And they asked it
mm-hmm,
to us. And I was like, I'm from Park Hill. Like,
mm,
I had TV in the closet. I could tell the difference between a gunshot and a fireworks still to this day. That ain't
mm.
nothing to really be, proud about. It's just a matter of fact of a
It's culturally thing.
hypervigilance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it is just to see in the look on their face. It was just kind of like what, but it's a different type of struggle out here. Not saying that it's just all sweet, but this is the thing: we are so adaptive, we are so resilient, and being out here, you know. And I can't wait to bring my kids out here because it's not about getting them humble to be like, oh, you should be grateful, but just to be out in this energy around the ancestors and walking in the dirt and the roads. And there's many buildings here. There's stuff that they sold us talking about, people beg and all. I mean, that stuff is happening in all the countries when you go to certain areas. So
Right.
that's another thing, I mean, it's just really intricate, and we're talking about spirituality. We're touching on some of the religio stuff that come up because there's
Mm,
not enough of these discussions happening. But I do believe that these discussions are happening
mm,
more and more, and we have to be able to pass the torch to the youth because it's the youth that is going to carry the heavy spears, and we got to make sure that we're not rearing them up with poison and putting spells on their minds. Because I'm not here to say
mm,
Christianity is the
mm,
enemy, or Islam's the enemy, or whatever. My
mm.
thing is just walk in your path,
Right.
and know you are the only one that could civilization flex and do that as such. Like I'm always going to put that out there like that because I love my people and I'm pro black and this is how I move. Period.
Uh, so let me ask you a question. What are some of the things that you are currently working on while you're out there? Like, what are some of the main focuses that you're working on being out there right now with Brother Jeff? And what are some of the things that y'all are connecting dots for us here in the States?
Yeah, so this is the Black Mental Health and Wellness Coalition on my chest right here. This is my nonprofit. I have a project called The Bridges here, Pombe Mungini. Pombe Mung. I seen a couple people from Senegal jumped on here. Senegal Rick. Senegal Rick. Yeah, they gonna get hyped. Senegal Rick, John Mark John, Diggy 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 Diggy. Um,
It sounds like you rapping right there, boy.
yeah.
That language is so rhythmic. It sounds like you just busted some bars right there.
Yeah, yeah. For real. Chase Summer Bucket Mom. Chase Summer Bucket Mom. I just said, the ancestors is protecting me with reverence. Chase Summer Bucket Mom deep in my soul. Chase Summer Bucket Mom. Um, and it's heavily influenced by Arabic. It's interesting. But the bridges here, Pombe Mungini. So working on a documentary, and this is my third time coming out here. And we do this every time I come out here. Last year we did this and just tapping in, and each time it's a transformation. So that the bridges here is literally the meaning of just bridging it because there's things being bridged here, and it's not just bringing people here for tourism to come buy some masses, some African change, and go into a mosque for the first time. You can go into a mosque in the States. This is much deeper than that because there has to be some type of economic fortitude or some intentional, kind of like the stuff that Dr. Claude Anderson talked about on white labor, black
Definitely.
wealth.
Hmm.
Those type of principles, but in a different way. And so that's the thing, like that's what we've been working. And this is the thing, connecting with the culture and the people. They're not coming here to convince anybody or convince anybody there. And it's exposure. That's
Mm.
one of the most important things that we are showing. And I'm so grateful to have universal favor, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, upon me to even, because I've lived a lot of lives like I'm sure you can attest to, and to
Mm.
be at this place. And I'm an Akabulanis. This is just something I double upon my mind. I double upon me. I don't crude. I ain't put it on, but I've come to this place in my mind, and in this type of peace, this type of peace. So with that project, I've been working. It got a lot of film and it's really the exposure of people, going to the door no return, that type of stuff, because we're building a bridge. A bridge is not meant to just only, walk across it. It's to be maintained. And when I go live on my Facebook and exposure, I can't tell you how many times when, I come back and I'm talking to some of the street guys or some other individuals that may have been a student of mine, and they are just blown away where they're just like, I really, for real, did not think that Africa even had cars. I don't
Mm.
laugh at them or nothing. They just like, you showed me those buildings. They're like what's edged in my mind like they did in the 90s, give 10 cents a day to a hungry child, or,
Have you seen
you
that
know
that recent African videos where they're making fun of America? I told you about it. They're making
yeah, you
fun of
told me about it.
Americans.
Yeah, bring that up
You got to
again.
see.
Send that to me. I
I'm
want to
gonna
have a
send it
good
to
belly
you, man.
laugh. Yeah, I
They
want
got to
to
feed
laugh.
the starving Americans is Africa because that's one of the things that I've noticed within the last 10 to 15 years is the abundance that's coming from the continent. There's a lot of technology, a lot of great information coming from the continent right now, brilliant minds, engineering happening right now. And I feel that there's still Americans that think that we're the ones who are superior to the continent,
Right,
but
and it's the
when
other
you
way
start looking
around.
at the yeah, when you start looking at the logistics, it looks like nah, Africa is thriving right now in a way that
Yeah.
it's not being acknowledged. Not
The
over here, at least.
resources, the resources, and this is the thing that's happening in the Sahel right now. So the Sahel is, for those, I'm sure you're knowledgeable in it, but the Sahel is Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. They drop the borders. Because whenever me and Brother Jeff go to other countries here, we get in our passport stamped. And it's like, because these are really countries, these ain't states. It's something else I want to put on people's mind to really, really think about this America's great bullshit stuff. I've come across some research where you look at the landmass of Akabule, that's the thing that I got going
Mm-hmm,
on.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
America, United States actually only makes up 5% of this entire connected land. So really wrap your mind around that piece. And there's not more white people in America than it is black people. I call bullshit. That is colonial violence through language and imagery.
Right, spells being
That's
cast.
literally what that is. There's no way we're getting outnumbered. You could go to Atlanta, you could go to DMV, you could go to Texas. And this is the thing. The son is pro-black. The son don't even like white people. I mean,
Mm,
the Ron doesn't even, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I'm just saying, we got melanin. I know that is a humorous, scholarlistic, thing that I threw out there. But like really thinking about that piece, and then also another piece that I'm working on is I'm on Substack. My Substack is Dr. Jason Shankle. I am bridging things with the mental health piece because I just
Mm-hmm.
recently did a class here, and it was fascinating because it was like, yeah, we don't talk about this.
Mm. They
I
they
mean,
don't talk about that where they're at.
no,
Oh,
no.
wow,
When you're
okay.
talking about
Wow.
depression and anxiety, there's no word for it. They don't talk about it. It's just like, no, they just say, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Chubachik. Go have some chubachik. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Just go have some fish and rice and a
Yeah.
pita.
Get back to
And
life.
yeah, get back to life, have something to eat, and get to work, or do whatever you need to do. So that's another thing that I'm looking at because I don't deal with racial battle fatigue here. Like we've been rocking for a long time. Like you know me, I know you. Like and I talked to my daughter the other day and my son, and my daughter was like, Dad, you just seem so just light. So,
You have peace. You have
yeah,
peace.
yeah, because I am at peace.
You
You
in
know what I
alignment.
mean? It's like
You in alignment.
Jamak Jam, So, you know, it's a soul medicine. And it's the fishbowl phenomenon that goes on back there because, getting the passport, you've traveled. And, we got to be able to expose this stuff. So I got a question for you. In
Con.
terms of some of the art that you have been creating and the content that you have been creating,
Mm.
what is the X factor that you see with the work that you do in terms of enlightening the minds and creating whatever this collective generational sacred like what do you see us getting to with the work that you're doing
Mm.
as an artist and as a
Yeah.
content creator? Where's it going?
So conversations like this is one of the foundations of it, building out dialogues from, see, like I have my own root, like in what I practice and what I do. So I identify within Hebrew, right? But I also understand that that's just a chamber. And I know other people have chambers and doors of
Mm,
information that
mm,
connects a bigger picture. And like, so like we were talking about Ifa, right? I feel like African spiritualism is misunderstood totally, and it's been demonized. So, from roots to branches, those styles of conversations of getting to the roots of who we are indigenously in our culture, and connecting the dots of who we are within the diaspora, because there are a lot of aspects of who we are that are misunderstood, and I feel like it's so what you were saying, wherever you put your foot, that's who you are. That's where you at. That's us. I feel like that's one of the dots that I'm really striving to connect with in my artistry is that
Mm.
you know, we have been everywhere and we are everywhere. And us awakening to who we are is awakening the earth to who she is and what she is. So, you know, I talk a lot of ascension talk. I talk a lot of us raising our consciousness talk. I talk about us tapping back into who we truly are, not just knowledge wise, but spiritually. So, I have this verse is remember the ancient ones liberated the tongue speaking into existence only way that the one try to tell us we dumb. Brighter is my perspective. So like what I'm talking about is like us,
Respect.
you know what I'm saying? Like really elevating who we are and speaking our truth into existence because the Most High exists in us. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, if we're in the reflections of God and we are God, then we need to start speaking that truth into our reality and come into our godlyhood. So yeah, man. Right now, like I'm working on a project. I got a few different projects that I'm and I, you know, when you get back into the States, we need to build a little bit deeper about it, you know. But I have two projects that I'm releasing within this new year that I'm very adamantly finishing up. First one is called Imago. And
Mm.
imago, yeah, imago is the transition of a caterpillar into a butterfly, you know, rebirth, you know. And another one is a curriculum and is also a book that I'm working on that connects to imago, which is called The Rap Pages, you know, A Life of Rhythm and Poetry. Yeah, man, those are the things that I'm really working towards because on this journey of being an educator, being a teacher, being a facilitator, being an artist and a musician, as yourself, I feel like we learn so much through our struggle and through our pain and through our hurt. And if we're the ones who have the ability to actually be able to reflect and look at our mistakes and be able to teach other people how to not make the same mistakes or utilize the ancient knowledges that we've studied to be able to apply to make ourselves better, then we can do that through our art, through our teachings. So that's what I'm striving to do within this new year is really, you know, we going into 2026, you know, that's 10, you know what I'm saying? So like
Mm.
within us going into that 10, you know, I believe that we going into a new world, right? And, you know, depending on your perspective, you know what I'm saying? You can look at it as evil or you can look at it as the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I look at it as the kingdom. And I believe that there are some powerful things that'll be coming to fruition because we all have an alignment within our purpose. Those who are awakened to who we are within ourselves. So
Mm.
those who are awakened to who they are within themselves, you are definitely walking in your purpose and alignment, you know, and everything that you're doing is you leaving that mark, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's our jobs is to leave that mark, you know what I'm saying? Leave that mark of that knowledge and that information for other people to pick up that game and be able to take it to that next level later, you know, like you right now, man, you I feel like you in your John Henry Clark bag right now, you know what
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying?
much respect. Yeah,
You know
much
what I'm saying?
Tupac
Like
Baba.
yeah, I feel like you in your John Henry Clark bag right now within going back into the continent, but also breaking down that historical information and reference of that information. So, like, you know, I feel like that's an important journey for us all to be on is to go through those chambers of information and knowledge historically so that we can feed that next gen. Because the reason why John Henry Clark was such an important person within that journey is he allowed us who study him to go back into our journey and go through his knowledge, but then deepen that knowledge by doing it ourselves and doing our own self reflections and our own studies to add on to what he left us. You know, and I feel
Mhm.
like that's our job as we get into our eldership is to build upon what the elders before left us and to be able to have the next generation inspired enough to build upon what we leave behind for them. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I'm striving to do is just leave
Yeah, yeah.
some seeds of information for the next generation to build upon, you know.
Bah, bah, bah. That's just much respect and Walla. Bah, bah, bah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? Yes, man. I respect your hustle. You're consistent.
Oh,
That's what
blessings.
I see. You're
Thank you.
consistent because
Thank
when you're putting out that content and being willing to pass the torch, you
you.
know,
Yes,
like
yes, yes.
we're going to be in sage roles. You
Yes,
know, it's
man.
like being in sage roles now, and the future is now. It's not only bright; it's shining now. And the art. I was going to ask you about the poetry book because we talked a bit about it. So you said the name of it.
Mm.
What was that moment where you were like, yeah, it's time to publish this book? Because I know you're working on another album. You're doing behind the scenes. You're doing some behind the scenes stuff
Yes,
on the
sir.
upcoming album. What was the coup de grace, that moment that had you to the place? Yeah, you already know. We good. I'll help you self publish or whatever you need help with. I mean, it's
Blessings, man. I
we
appreciate
can
you.
get it done.
Always.
What was the coup de grace for you when you said, "I'm going to put out this book,
Mm,
this MC," and then
mm,
you rap, you're an MC.
mm,
How did that come about? Because I don't see that a
mm.
whole lot. How did that come
Yeah.
about?
Um, I feel like I've been blessed to always see the connection and the dots of like hip hop being just a part of African lineage and black culture. You know what I'm saying? And like I feel like a lot of hip hop artists look on to other hip hop artists for
Mm,
inspiration.
mm,
But I was blessed to have a father who really was into jazz and who was really into like really educating us on who we were within our blackness when I was young, you know. So and I feel like that's kind of why I don't look at hip hop just as hip hop in the ways that it's been commercialized. I look at it as just the passing on of the torch of black lineage and who we are as African. I feel like African American artists are the most influential artists in the world, you
that's
know.
true.
You know, and within our jazz, within everything, blues and rock and roll and everything that we've touched. Um, we've inspired the world to do similar things, you know. So I feel like the book itself is just kind of a connection to that lineage of like, I'm very inspired by Miles Davis. I'm very inspired
Yeah.
by Langston Hughes. Very inspired by like even the James Baldwin and what he contributed,
Mm,
and I feel like I want to be the hip hop version of those gentlemen, and what they contributed to the black artistry lineage,
mm,
and what I do as a hip hop artist and connecting those dots for, us being prideful of who we are within ourselves.
mm,
So, and I see it already. You know what I'm saying? I see some young artists who are coming up in the Denver area, that I see that are doing
mhm,
some brilliant, brilliant things and that are uncompromising with who they are within their root and who they are within their blackness. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
So I love to think that I had some part in inspiring that. Of course, they on their own journeys and they have their own influences and they have their own inspirations. But if nothing else, if I can be an inspiration to spark intelligence within the hip hop realm, for those who are going into hip hop to not just do the typical or the stereotypical, but
mm,
to be
mm,
exceptional, and to be scholars themselves within the culture that we cultivated. So that's what I'm hoping that this book does, is just inspire the next generation to be great, to be brilliant, and to like be the connection to continue on that legacy of our brilliance within who we are as Afrofuturists. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, really, really getting into that bag because we
Yeah.
we carving it right now, man. We in the roaring 20s. We in the roaring 20s. I know it's the 2020s, but we in the roaring 20s,
That's
and
true.
this is the renaissance right now, I believe. Already, my dude right here, Jay.
Hey, yeah,
Um,
already. Yeah, much
um,
respect.
we in the roaring 20s, so I feel like it's our job to inspire the next generations that are going to be in the 20s, you know, in the next 2000, in the next 1,000 years, to be like, wow, man, they really put that work in, man. They really,
Mm-hmm.
they really were uplifting and inspiring and evolving the next generation to be great, you know, because they bury the truth. You know what I'm saying? They bury the truth, and we truth tellers, so they don't want
Mm-hmm.
that to be too high. You know, like we ain't
Right.
on the biggest platforms. You know what I'm saying? But we do have platforms.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you
that's it.
know, that's inspiration, and that's what I like to be where I'm at too. Like I'm not trying to be the biggest thing. I'm just trying to do what I'm called to do in my purpose. So, and that's
Yeah.
what, you know. To be honest with you, man, um that's the reason why I'm so glad that me and you connected. You know what I'm saying? Because being able to exchange, like, you know, sharpen each other's swords and give each other a challenge. We challenge each other too in
Mm-hmm.
perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and the things that we see, and I like that we don't necessarily always agree on everything, because like
Right.
that lets us know that we're true to who we are and our perspectives, and we're not trying to just like, oh yeah, yeah, you know, like
Yeah.
nah, like. No, I don't
Right.
agree with that, but like I may see it this
Right.
way, you may see it that way, but like
Yeah.
we get a better picture of
Yeah.
the of what we're talking about. We're teaching each other, and on top of that, we're
Yeah.
inspiring each other too.
Yeah, much respect. Every time I feel that I feel the same way, you know, with the dialogue. Because I do look up these things, and when I hear these things, I kind of go, oh man, I said, dang, that's something to try on. You know?
Vice versa, vice
Yeah.
versa. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They try that on. You know, it's interesting. Because I'm a poet. I'm about to read a poem. And you're an artist. I know you got stuff laying around and
Oh yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm about to read this poem for the people real quick.
Let's do it, man.
So, bloody land of the free to be mentally incarcerated. Mother Earth is Black Queen. Black man is God. Rest in peace, Clarence 13X Allah. I suggest if knowledge goes over your head, grab a book. Take a look instead of belief. Tell the perfect lie, the truth becomes unbelievable. Shout out Brother Kaba Kameen. Devils eat devils. Worlds wars forever. You can't fool us. The fox eats more than the wolf. This is not Fox News. Malcolm X, L. Malik Shabazz debated many beasts. Isn't it strange the same people that killed and raped your grandmother is the same religion blind believers follow? Just think about it. And the Romans murdered Yahshua. Story of the black man sounds familiar. Call it what it is. I would kill and die for this. John, yeah, peace only. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So what's the inspiration for the piece? And like I hear the message, no doubt, no doubt, but like uh where you're at within your artistry, what's the
Mm.
inspiration of the messages that you, because I feel, you know, we leaving these scrolls behind, you know what I'm saying? So like what's your hope to inspire within the scrolls that you believe that you're leaving behind?
You know, my hope to inspire is to leave this universal DNA that can only be understood through individuals' walks and the connectedness and through the dreams, through the subconscious. The dreams is so pivotal. And when I wrote this piece, you know, honestly, this was a piece that I collaborated with. I wrote it on my cousin. He was, you know, he's an artist as well. And when I wrote this, I was just sitting back, just kind of going, "Wow, you know, there's so much poison out in the world. There's so much poison." So what I hope to leave behind is like Metu Neter. You know, it will live forever because also how I raise my children.
Mm,
They're always going to have the scroll in their heart, and then this art will be here. Just like they
mm,
recently found 1,004, they found 1,440, 1,440,000 books recently in Mali, near Timbuktu.
mm.
So these individuals was able to reserve it, and they literally had to sneak this stuff out of there because they was trying to burn it and come and kill the individuals, and they just got one photo.
Wow.
That just happened in Mali a couple of months ago. So just imagine those in Timbuktu is the first university ever built. That's not saying
Mm-hmm.
it's the first school of thought or school of building, but this was the first built by Mansa Musa, found in
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
room in the United States. That's ours. Uh, if anybody need to be escorted up there, that's immigrants, it's white people. I mean,
Mm,
it's just a fact according
mm,
to the definition. It's according to reality. So you think about it, we're constantly writing and leaving these books and, like you said, scrolls behind.
mm,
Because who knows 100 years now what this is, and also having a town in Shankleville where my people are from, and I went up there and I got to touch my great 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 grandmother and grandmother's tombstone, and it was so old that it was hammered in. I said, well, that makes sense. And then we got them a new one. I mean, we got them a fresh one too, but we kept the old one there. And for me to put my hands on that, I put my hands on something from the 1800s.
wow.
I can't imagine. And when I was there, I could feel because my father had passed away, and then I was just sitting here, just having this spiritual X-ray of the environment, just kind of like at this graveyard, and just imagining how many of my ancestors are walking with me right now. Someone saying, "That's so
Mm,
and so, so and so, so and so, so and so son,
mm,
which is the son of so and so, so and so, and this is the daughter of so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I
That's
feel it.
that's very African in itself because you on the continent they can reach back their lineage in a similar way. That's a rarity within American black culture. You
That's
know,
right.
it's so fragmented. You know, so
They do that
fragmented.
out here. Mhm.
Yeah, man. You know, so the fact that, for one, that you can go back to a place that has your name and your lineage connected to it, and then you can actually see the ancestors that came before you right now.
Mhm.
That's African, within the connection and being able to connect those dots to your lineage is powerful, man. That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, and also that reminds me of a conversation quite a few times. You better ever had conversations with students here. These individuals are able to, we was raised. They say, raise your hand if you know your great grandmother. Boom. Your great great grandmother. Boom. Your great great grandmother. Boom. Can you tell us the names and what the names mean and that was some of the detrimental things that happened to black people in the states. I'm dropping this American bullshit. I just want to I get it, and it's semantics, but you know, we typically go from up to great grandmother to get past that, but here, these folks here, they can ring it off. They can ring it
Mhm.
off, and then also they are knowledgeable in the wars. That's the
Mm,
thing. How many of the individuals may not even know that the Black Panthers was named the Black Panthers of Self-Defense, and the reason the Black Panther Party is self-defense, and the reason why party was on it is because you had the donkeys, you had the asses, and you had the elephants, and what they were pushing was is we are our own party. We'll patrol our own neighborhood. So
mhm,
that's when they dropped that. Um, Dr. Huey Newton wrote a book called "The Die for the People."
mm,
And it talked about, and actually I made that a part of my dissertation when I was finishing up my
mm,
doctorate, and it was just fascinating to read these nuances of, because he had a doctorate in sociology. A lot of people don't even know that, like they just call him Huey Newton. It was Dr. Huey Newton, and that dude actually wrote quite a few books,
They
and
keep that out for a reason. Yeah, they keep
yeah,
that information. Yeah.
yeah, that part. So it's really the oral history, and that's what makes this. And also another thing to look at, the enemy, when the enemy is frantic like this and you see this type of nonsense, every play is a Hail Mary. Every play is a Hail Mary. You think about it, they're really in desperation mode, because I'm sure you've had some of these conversations. I've had interesting conversations with atheists and individuals and all types of. That's why I just love to learn. So if a person had his perspective, I'm like, cool, this is what I see. Boom, boom, boom. It's interesting. A lot of individuals on that other side that they just white psychopath, whatever you want to call it, or when you get to the gritty of some of them, well, I mean, I'm not interested in learning them, but I've heard these. You may have heard some of this stuff too, where they're like, yeah, we're genetically inferior, and white women ain't having kids. We're going extinct. So this is mainly one of the reasons why, when you think about it, the first bombs that hit the land there was T-Town,
Mm,
1921, and there was many of those. And I recently found out that there was the other name for Birmingham, Alabama, was called Birmingham, Alabama, because they were strategically scheduled when to drop bombs on certain big areas that would get coverage. But the thing that they wasn't telling you about, they was all in synchronicity and dropping bombs in other towns at the same time. So when they
mm,
were highlighting one, you were missing the other nine times, the other 9 to 26 towns that they had bombed during the bomb on that one city.
mm.
And they call it
Wow.
Birmingham. And then you got
Wow.
Melvin, Colorado, up under the Cherry Creek Reservoir. And then also, Denver's known as the Harlem of the West. That was during the time from the 1930s up until right around the 1945. You couldn't find more black people living in Harlem and Denver. It
Mm-hmm.
was named the Harlem of the West. So,
Yeah. My
they're really.
grandfather came up here during that time, actually, because of that reason. He migrated up here from Texas, and
Mm,
he heard so much about it that he wanted to come and experience it, and came to Denver, and yeah, stayed here for about a year or two before he moved to California. So
look at
yeah,
this. Look at
yeah,
this. Look at this. John Coltrane and Donny Hathaway, Billie Holidays to come up here. And I mean, well, there, because I'm in Senegal up here getting this
yeah,
spiritual
exactly,
medicine, because
exactly.
I don't experience racism. It's just, and you think about it, for some individuals that are thinking about getting that passport or getting that passport, something to make it sweet to try, because you've traveled the world too as well, like I have. Imagine going to a place where you don't feel racism. Some people ain't ever felt it.
Yeah. And racism right now in the states is increasing, right? As that
Ever so.
desperate element is in the ethos of America right now, it's increasing. You could feel it
Mm, mm,
in a variety of different spaces. So,
mm,
that peace that you have, you know what I'm saying, being in the motherland and being amongst those who look just like you,
mm.
man, that's got to be something that everybody should experience at least at some time in their life. Because you
Yeah.
could be in a black environment with nothing but black folks, but still feel that tension,
Mm-hmm.
just because you
Mm-hmm.
still here in the States still,
Mm-hmm.
or you still dealing with the constructs of the reality of having to say the right thing and not, move in certain ways because you're trying to get into certain doors or whatever you're trying to navigate.
That piece, see, and it's soul medicine. It really is, and this is the thing. They're in desperation mode. The enemy, the adversary, every play is a hail mary. Because I get it, because I'm here and I'm healing and healed some of the work and things that I'm doing deep within. um, but that's the thing. You think about it. That's the play. That is the ultimate play that they do not want to see occur, because all the resources here in Africa make the world go round. France is going bankrupt. France is in like almost $3.4 billion in debt because they refuse to sell oil to them, and that's good. And then also the British. It's interesting how we don't got smoke for the British tied to the Louisiana Purchase, and people that are in Britain, they speak English, but they say no, they speak American English, and it really
Mm,
is one of those things where they just kind of like, you American, that's American English. We ain't, you know what I mean? This is like, well, damn, you know what I mean? And we civilized y'all. Like
Mm,
we was ahead of we were everywhere. And remember, and that's just to put it in perspective. Remember, the U.S. is 5% because
mm,
it really does put that thing. And this is the thing here in Africa, they don't do daylight savings time and all the other stuff because there, that was tied to farming. And so that's what I'm saying. When I would be learning Wolof and I'd be like, oh damn, I forgot the hour change. And they would just be like, well, what is that? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, we don't why would we mess with time if we say time is a concept? We're not saying it's law, but why would we mess with time like that when we got the Ra coming up and then Lunar coming up again? If this isn't a manipulative game, why would we touch on time like that? They don't. Every time I say, yeah, man, they like that. They go, what? Like what? I'm like, this place is fucking crazy, man. They just like,
man. Well, man, I gotta make some moves, man. You already know we'll be out here talking for the next 4 or 5 hours right now. We get
yeah,
philosophizing in there, but like,
yeah, yeah,
I want to say thank you, man, for like tapping in with me while you've been. I know it's been a challenge to get this coordinated too with scheduling and everything
yeah.
like that. So I
All good.
appreciate you taking the time to be able to do this, and I'm glad that we're able to line it up and really, get connected. We got to do it again too. We got to do it again.
Yeah,
Whether
yeah.
how much more time do you have while you're out there?
Shoot, I'm damn near here for the whole month of December almost. I'm I'm
Okay.
I'm I'm
Yeah,
I'm,
let's
I'm
get
out
another
here.
one in before. Yeah, yeah, let's get another one in before you come back into the States, and then do another one when you get into the States as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where can people, I know a lot of people already on here know, but like, where can people find you? Because we're gonna be putting this up on YouTube and everything as well. So,
Yeah.
where can people find you, and what are your socials that you want people to tap in to be able to connect to your resources, knowledge, and content?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and then the next one, too, you want to make sure to, because you want to save this, you want to be putting it up on the YouTube. Y'all tap into his YouTube channel. Like I said,
Please do.
my man's is consistent. If you look
God
his
bless us,
name up
man.
and all the stuff that he's doing, you're gonna say, okay, I can see why Jason said this.
Oh,
He's
right
consistent.
on. Thank you.
Yeah. So where I could be found is on Instagram. Jason Shankle underscore. My website for my books and other things I'm working on is just jasonshankle.com. The Black Mental Health and Wellness is bmhwc.org. That's where the Bridges Here project is, and workshops, free workshops we're going to be doing during the summer again, the Black Library and stuff like that. And my Substack. I've been working on this article because I see this vision. I'm not, letting it all out right now, but um, I'm working on this piece of this, my experience here and an experience there on my Substack. My Substack is just Dr. Jason Shankle. Also have a clothing line, Success Day Glory. So that's another thing. It's black brand by black hands. So all of my clothing line pieces and fabrics is made here in Senegal. And it helps some of the villages. It helps some of the individuals. I show them love. But yeah, that's where I could be found. But yeah, Jason Shankle. And then also, where can they find you? This YouTube piece, and
Sure.
you got quite a few platforms in your clothing line. Your clothing line,
God bless us.
yeah.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube under Sev, Sojourner, Sojouner. That's on YouTube, Sev Sojourner. And you can also find me on, my Instagram, which is ill7, ILLSE7EN. I'll be launching some new content and within this year, launching a web page as well. So there'll be a streamline for
Mm.
the content and things that I'm working on. Working on some short documentaries and some pretty much narrations from roots to branches, just talking about history, talking about different points in Black history and things that we've dealt with within our culture. So I'll be dropping some of that content on my From Roots to Branches page, and and then right now, just getting ready to drop these projects. So I don't have no dates. I stopped putting dates on things, but I'm adamantly at work right now. And within this new year, I'll be dropping a new music project and dropping some new words through the Rap Pages book that I'm dropping. So
Okay.
tap in on that. And then workshop wise, we're building out some different workshops with the From Roots to Branches, and also working on a pretty much a curriculum and a help platform for artists who are trying to build their own things with the Each One Teach One and the art of hustle. So tap in, reach out to me, inbox me. You want to build, let's build. I'm always down to build. And check out Gypsy Lab Sessions as well. Gypsy Lab Sessions is the platform that me and my business partners have been pushing and building on, where we're doing live music, live poetry with the Beats and Poets section of it. So check us out on Gypsy Lab Sessions on Instagram and on YouTube. All right.
The clothing line. The clothing
Oh
line.
yeah, in the clothing line, Full Armor Movement. Yeah, Full Armor Movement. Big up to everybody who's been holding down the clothing line, sending me pictures of the shirts, wearing them, rocking them, working on some new layouts for the new year though. So we're gonna get some new things popping within this new year, and we got some other new things that are working on with Soul Armory as well. So yeah, we in the process right now. This New Year's is coming in already heavy, so I'm excited.
Yeah. So hit us up on the platforms. Follow him on the YouTube. He's going to be cooking this up. This will be up as well. We're going to be doing this again. But shoot,
Sure.
you can go ahead and hit him with the last words. All I'm gonna say is wherever you find your time, you find your heart. Don't waste your heart. Mashallah, inshallah.
Right on. Bless up, y'all. I'll leave you with a little bit of some words. I'll leave you with a poem and then get out of here. Just some verses. You know what I'm saying? They say dreams manifest from the old life pain. We strive to be great in these gladiator games. Power, rain, flames standing on the back of our children. Willing to be great if the closed mind listen. Break the tradition. Fish for Atlantis. The children of the no indigo new planet. Gotta wait your turn, transcend new standards. The people breaking boundaries. A system can't stand it. All of the fallen, stalling in greatness, artificial intelligence, yo, who the fakest? Light beam shining out the eyes of the future. Christ mind, Superman, kill Lex Luthor. Feel all the pain in your chest, find it in a moment. Take another breath. I'm like Simone Nina, moan, halfway home. Take me to the water, said a man, I'm told. Black is the color of my true lover's hair. Little girl blue fortune tell stories there. Little girl blue fortune tell stories there. Black is the color of my true lover's hair. Shalom, y'all. Bless up, bless up. Man, thank you for joining me
Yo,
tonight. And let's build some again here soon before you get back into the States, man.
yeah, we're gonna get it, inshallah. Mubarak.
Bless up.
Inshallah. Inshallah.